So we have a couple of objectives today to take care of. One is we're going to use this slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b. The second thing we're going to use is the point slope form. Point slope form, and then the third thing we're going to do is just your slope. So those are the three things today, and we'll walk our way through them. So those are forms that you've had already, and they should be pretty familiar with you from Algebra 1, but we are going to take a little time and make sure everybody's on board. A couple problems tonight. We should have time here towards the end of class to get quite a few of them done. So slope intercept, y equals mx plus b. Point slope form is a little different. It's y minus y of 1 is equal to your slope m, quantity x minus x of 1. I'll show you that here in a second. You don't need to worry about that. And of course, slope is change in y over change in x, which we'll talk about here in a second. And some of you taking some notes, which is awesome. So, a couple really nice days we've had here this spring. This fall's been awesome, hasn't it? As far as weather, really enjoying it myself. Hopefully you are. Cleveland Indians are hot. Playing well. They won again last night on the comeback. 2 walk-offs and a 4-run comeback last night. It was fun. Did not watch any NFL though. It was on last night too. Always talk sports, I guess. All right. So our first skill today. Our first thing is no one really ever wants to do warm-up problems, so we're going to skip those. Our first skill is this. We're going to look at a graph and be able to tell what or write a linear from it. So step 1, identify the y-intercept. Now, we look at that. Where is it crossing that y-axis? It is at 1. What part of this mx plus b is that? That's the b, isn't it? Isn't that pretty simple? Step 2, can we find the slope? Remember, slope is rise over run, isn't it? Or my change in y of 2 minus y of 1 over x of 2 minus x of 1, which we'll have here in a second. But that's your slope formula. But we're just visually looking. First of all, is it a positive slope? Or is it a negative slope? Well, it is a positive slope, so we know it's positive. So let's look and see what's going on. Looks like it goes up 1, over 1, doesn't it? Rise 1, run 1. Rise 1, run 1. So what is this slope? 1. So now we'll plug that in for m. Y equals 1x plus 1, of course. We'll usually write that as just x plus 1. And there's your linear equation. Again, just looking at the graph, can you figure out the linear equation? Yes. Find that intercept, put it in for b, look at your rise over your run, and see what you got. And make sure you know if it's positive or negative. Of course, a negative slope, it's going to look like that. There's our negative slope. Of course, this slope is a positive slope. So that's a skill that I'm going to ask you to do. How do you feel about that? Everybody okay? Let's try one. See what you can do. I'm going to give you the points because it's kind of a little bit weird to see from way back there. I see that. Okay, so this guy right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. X is 0. Y is 8. Down here, your X is 3. And your Y is 0. Give me a second. See if you can get that intercept, B. And then a little bit more difficult is that slope, rise over run. Also, is it negative or is it positive? All right, so our B is what? Where's it crossing? Staring at us right there, A, isn't it? Everybody feel comfortable with that? Now, what's going on, positive or negative? Okay, so we know it's negative. Here is my rise, or in this case, down. How many is it going down? That's my change in Y. What is it? 8. What is my change in X? Is this part, the run? 3. And we know it's negative, don't we? So it's gonna be Y equals negative 8 over 3X.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir?
Mr. Grubb, how you doing?
Good.
Everybody in here that's excited?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you got Rose in here too, huh?
Yeah, it's
What's
exciting.
on? It's Friday. You're hungry? What sounds good?
I'm going home to eat. So,
Are you going home to eat?
Mac and cheese.
yeah, I think my dad made mac and cheese.
That's solid.
Mac and cheese.
Just stopping by to say hello. See how you were doing.
Doing all right.
Yeah.
Have a little water.
Good.
Trying to stay up. Good luck tonight.
Appreciate it, thank you. So,
On the road to Hoover.
that's right, pumpkin heads.
See
See ya.
ya. All right. How do you feel? Is everybody okay with that? Skill 1, look at a graph. Okay, look at a graph. And write the equation. Take a quick second. And do this one. I'll put the points on for you. This guy right here, this guy right here. This guy here is 0, 1. This guy here is -5, 0. Y equals mx plus b. I'm getting some stuff. Negative or positive slope? Positive slope. Last one of these. Positive slope. Intercept. Intercept is 1. All right. What is my change in Y? What is the change in Y? Well, my change in Y is this distance here, isn't it? What is it? 1. What is my change in X? This distance is, and we already determined that it's positive, right? Boom. You don't need to worry about the negative numbers if you just knew that was a positive slope, isn't it? Change in Y over change in X. All right, scale 1, look at a graph, get a linear, is everybody good? All right, let's move on. This one we should be pretty good with, we just did it. I'll let you look at it for a second. We're gonna do one problem. Change in Y over change in X. I've already written that on the board, but if you haven't gotten it down, you might wanna jot it down. And every students don't, which one do I need to put first? So it doesn't matter. If I have 2 points, it doesn't matter which one I put first, as long as they match up. Does that make sense? So the Y and the X just need to be the pair together. You can do it either way. There's no certain way to put one ahead of the other. You will get the same answer. Okay? So let's take a shot at one of those. if you're gonna do how I'm gonna do it, I'll use this as my, I'll use this as my, x of 1. I'm using my x of 2 and my y of 2. If you wanna do it how I'm gonna do it. It does turn out either way, the same. So I'll give you a second so you can find that slope with change in my y over the change in my x. Change in my y. So I'm gonna have -5. I'm gonna have minus a -1. So I'm gonna have +1 right there. It's gonna be -1. I messed that up. Just gonna be -1. So my y is -5, and then my y over there is 1, so it's -5 minus 1. Here I'm looking at 2. This is where I'm gonna have minus a -1. So -5 minus 1 gives me -6, and this is gonna give me +3, so my slope is -2. My slope there is -2. Still okay there? I'm good with slope. We just need to do one of those. I think we should be all right. Is everybody good? Because we're going to do one of those here in a second. But this is a little nice, easy way. Don't forget it's y on top. What's y doing? Looks like tree. So the y's on top. Every year students mess this up. I give them on a quiz, give them one of these, and they mess it up because they forget to put the y on top. What's my x doing? 4, 4, 4. There's your slope. So if I give you one of these, make sure you get the change in y on top. We did this earlier in a couple of last earlier in the week, didn't we? From the diagram like this. All right. Anybody know what the slope of that line is? It is 0. This is 0. What if it went up and down like this? It went into 5. This, my friends, is y equals, and that probably looks like y equals 2. Okay, y equals. This up and down 1 is x equals. That looks like around 2 also. Up and down is x equals. Vertical, horizontal. All right. Here's the next guy that we're going to use. And this guy should be familiar to you. It's called the point slope form because we have to put in a slope and a y value and an x value. And then we're always going to end up putting it in y equals mx plus b. So our final output is going to look like that. This is called the point slope form. So it really is a little bit of plug and chug math. You're going to put in some values, simplify the equation, and you have a linear line. Plenty of algebra 1 work here you've done. So the point slope form, y minus y of 1 equals m quantity x minus x of 1. Now if I have 2 points, I'm going to find the slope first, then it doesn't matter, I can use either point to put in. I can use either point to put in. 2 problems left to go, okay, everybody? Just 2? Is everybody okay? You ready? Let's try this one. Plug some values into this guy right here and see if we can finish this guy up. So we want to get it in y equals mx plus b, so I got to do a little algebra afterwards. So a little cookbook math here. Plug in the values. You will go from there. Simplify, get it to be y equals mx plus b. Gotta watch your negatives here, so it's y is gonna be -1 equals my m, which I've given you. I'm gonna have x minus 8. So we plugged in our values, now we're gonna distribute, and everybody gets a little bit hairy when we get to some fractions, but this is gonna be y minus 1 equals 3 over 8x. That will become minus 3. 3/8 times 8 ends up being minus 3. So again, we're trying to get it to be y equals, so all we have to do left to do is plus 1 on this side of the equation. And our final output, our final linear, y equals 3/8 x minus the deuce. There you have it. How's everybody doing? Okay? Questions or concerns? Got one more in you, and then we're gonna be done. Okay, everybody good? One more. Gonna use this same guy right here, but it's got a little different twist to it. Okay? This isn't the one I wanna do. This is the one I wanna do. What's the difference here? There's no slope, so how are we gonna find the slope? You have 2 points. Find the slope first, and then stop. I'm gonna make sure everybody gets the slope right. Find the slope, then we'll proceed. Change in y, your change in y over your change in x. Your change in y. So your change in y would be -3 minus 5 would give me -8. Your change in x would be -2 minus 2 would give me -4. So my slope is 2. My slope is 2. Now, common sense tells me to use the positive 2 and 5. You with me? That way I don't have to worry about signs and what's going on. So now I'm gonna have y minus 5, right? X minus 2. So I just use the 2, I use the 2 and 5 because you can use the other ones, it does not matter. It just saves me from messing around with the negatives. We're gonna get the same output no matter what. Distribute the 2 and simplify. So if I take that 2 on out, we're looking at y minus 5 would be equal to 2x minus 4. I'm gonna add 5. So our final simplification would be y equals 2x plus 1. Okay, skill 1 was what? Look at the graph. Plug in y equals mx plus b. Very good. Skill 2 was what? Find the slope. Use the slope. Change the y over change the x. Skill 3 was to use this guy right here. Find the equation. Finish it up like that. How do we feel? Some good review stuff here, isn't it? All right. problems for tonight. Nothing overwhelming. You can practice those. I think they'll help you solidify this information.